Hello class. Okay, so we are doing book review set 2, slide 5. It says to simplify this fraction, 15/45. So if you remember, simplify means to make it smaller. Simplify smaller, simplify smaller. So when we are changing a fraction, when we are changing it, we either multiply or divide. If we were making it bigger, we would multiply, but because we're making it smaller, we're going to divide. And we have to think what can go into both of these. Well, they both end in a 5, so I know 5 can go into both of them. So let's try that. Okay, I'm going to divide by 5 on both. And the reason I knew 5 goes into both is because they both end in a 5. Remember, if they end in a 5 or a 0, 5 goes into it. Okay, so I know that 15 divided by 5 is 3. If you weren't sure, count by 5s. 5, 10, 15. 45 divided by 5 is 9. Again, if you didn't know that, count by your 5s. Okay, so I did make it smaller, but I did not make it into its smallest equivalent fraction. And the reason I know that is because I know that 3 and 9, I know that 3 goes into both of those, 3, 6, and 9. So because 3 goes into both, I'm going to divide by 3. And whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So my simplest form is 1/3. You could have gotten 3 9s. Really, honestly, whatever you did, either one would work for me because it did not say to go to its simplest form. So simplify means smaller. Simplest form would be to go all the way to the 1/3 because that can't go any smaller. All right, we're going to do difference. And if you remember with the word difference, we make the F's into a minus sign. So that means we are going to be subtracting. So we're going to take 43,092 minus 8,401. If I have 2, can I take away 1? I sure can. If I have 9, can I take away 0? Yep. If I have 0, can I take away 4? Nope. Go next door and get 10 more. Instead of 3, I have 2, and I'm bringing a 10 over. Now that I have 10, can I take away 4? I sure can, and that's 6. If I have 2, can I take away 8? Nope. Go next door and get 10 more instead of 4. I now have a 3. I'm bringing over a 10 and adding it to the 2, making that a 12. 12 minus 8 is 4. If you weren't sure, punch 8 and count up. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 4. And then 3 minus nothing is 3. Our answer, read it with me, is 34,691. Remember when we read it, there's no and because ands are decimal points. Here we're going to add, but we have unlike denominators and we can't do that. So we need to think, what can we do? Well, I know there's 10 and 100 are very similar. And, excuse the board moving, Kona just walked on it. That's what I was laughing about. I know that 10 and 100 are very similar, and I know that I can make 10 into 100. I know that 10 times 10 is 100. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. I have to make my denominators the same to add them. So 10 times 10 is 100. 6 times 10 is 60. So I've changed that. I'm going to bring down my other fraction, 27 hundredths. I'm going to add those two together. 60 plus 27 is 87 hundredths. Okay, I went ahead and drew the number line for this. You should know that 1/2, the decimal of 1/2 is 0 and 5/10. That should be known. We've worked on that. So 1/2 does equal 0 and 5/10 because 5 out of 10 is the same as 0 and 5/10. 5/10, 5/10. That is 1/2. Half of 10 is 5, so that is equal to 1/2. So anything to the left is going to be smaller, and anything to the right is going to be bigger. Okay, so I have 0 and 34 hundredths. Well, I see 0 and 3/10. So I know that 0 and 34 hundredths has to fall between 3/10 and 4/10. So this is going to be less than half. I see 0 and 52 hundredths. Well, that's going to fall between 5/10 and 6/10. So 0 and 52 hundredths is just a little bit more than a half. My next number is 0 and 12 hundredths. Well, here is 0 and 1/10, and there's 0 and 2/10. We could also add zeros to that. So this would be 0 and 10 hundredths and 0 and 20 hundredths. So 0 and 12 hundredths would fall in between the two of those. So again, this is less than half. Okay, on number 29, I did not give you the option, or I did not draw a number line, and it wasn't because it was too crazy, even though yes, it is too crazy, but you should be able to do this without a number line on number 29. First thing we look is we look and see if we have any ones. We don't. So then we look at our tenths place. We have 3/10 and 5/10. Well, I know that 5 is more than 3, so I know that 54/10 is going to be greater. If I was going to read this, it would say 0 and 32 hundredths is less than 0 and 54 hundredths. We could also think about it as money. This would be 32 cents. This would be 54 cents. Which would you rather have? 54 cents. Okay. Looking at this one again, look at the ones place. They're the same. Look at the tenths place. We have 8/10 and 4/10. Look at it as money, 89 cents or 43 cents. I want 89 cents. Read it with me. 0 and 89 hundredths is greater than 0 and 43 hundredths. Remember that decimal point? Means and. Okay. All right, looking at some with whole numbers, we have 3 whole numbers. If we were doing money, it would be $3, and they're the same. So then we need to look at the tenths place. We have 6/10 and 2/10. So I know that 6 is greater than 2. If I wanted to look at it as money, we have $3 and 64 cents versus $3 and 21 cents. So read this with me, not as money. 3 and 64 hundredths is greater than 3 and 21 hundredths.